All right, Kevin here. Thoughts on Extracted, episode 3. We got to see somebody else extracted last night, which is not really surprising. I was surprised it didn't happen in episode 2. Uh, so they're down to, 10 now? They started out with 12. They're down to 10 at the end of this episode. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. We're kind of getting into the meat of the game now. Where we're getting a little bit cutthroat. So basically what happened is we started off and they dumped a deer carcass out there beside a little pond someplace. And what happened is the support teams back in base camp had to commit the map to memory in 30 seconds. And then they had to draw a hand-drawn map and send that out to their survivors with a knife and just some things to process the game with. A knife and a bear box, little one, and that was give them a good enough map to get them to the carcass. That didn't work out in all cases. At least one of them didn't make it to the carcass, and of course that there's some struggle going on right there, because even after just a few days here, food's in the forepart of your mind, and you're going insane because you haven't eaten right, and you're not drinking all you want to, and you don't have a warm bed to sleep in, and just like everything else, we're seeing the mental game really kick in and hurt some folks. Then, after they got directed to the carcass, got some meat, got back to their camps, cooked some meat, or tried to cook some meat if they could make a fire, which some of them are still really struggling with fire after 6-7 days out there now. And sadly, not a lot of shelter improvement going on. And at the end of the episode, it started to give them some inclement weather, a little rain and stuff. And I never get over somebody complaining about being wet when they're sitting outside their shelter in the rain. But, anyhow, it's hard to film in there, I guess. But they got a supply drop, but there was only enough supplies for 7 people to get supplies. So back at the base camp, all the support teams had to decide who was going to get supplies and who didn't. And you saw people sticking to the guns. No, my people get supplies. I don't care whether they need it or not. And you got to see some. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing fighting for your contestant. Because that's actually the name of this game, is get them to the end to win $250,000. So if you got to do a little cutthroat stuff, you got to do a little cutthroat stuff. It can be bad, it can be good. And we saw some folks sticking to their guns. I don't care whether they need it or not. I'm getting my folks supplies. And the saddest part for me was watching a couple of ladies resort to tears and crying and begging to get their contestant supplies, and then they tapped out before they even got the supplies. So basically what that means is somebody didn't get them that could have used them, because we're going to pull our girl out anyway. I don't even want to say anything about it. I don't even want to say anything about it, because we don't know what's going on in everybody's minds. Because, like I said, we've seen it ourselves out training people, where the mental game is really the killer. It really is. But what you really need to remember is, in a real situation, the ones that quit, they didn't make it. They're the ones who didn't make it. So, sorry, that's just the sad truth. All in all, it was a good episode. I didn't think a lot of the knives that they had laid out on the table. Of course, you didn't get to see what was in the sheaths. You just got to see the sheaths. So anyway, they ended up getting a knife and a bear box to process meat from this deer carcass, and then they got a supply drop that was hot chocolate and wool socks to help them stay warm. And there are things that I would have rather had, but those are all nice little perks, and nice pick-me-ups. It was, I got to watch some of them empty up, speak English. I got to see some of them open up empty boxes, which was, that would be a mental drain if you don't have your head in the game. All in all, not a lot happened this episode. We're getting to see people cry more. We're getting to see people cough. The one girl who was eating ants, I think she's going to be the dark horse of the competition because she's been out there foraging berries. Now she's eating ants. So I don't have a lot of concern about her. My money is still on the guy who was wearing the Sherpa bomber hat the first day, Ryan, I think his name is. And I think he's going to do well, barring an injury. So I think he's going to do well. I still like Woody because he's the old guy. But quite frankly, he hasn't even built a shelter yet. And he got some nice shelter stuff on episode 2 with their little shelter drop where they had to cross the lake. Now, going back to the where they were negotiating for who got the supply drop and who didn't. Here's one thing I would have pointed out if I was on the negotiating team trying to get one guy to not take supplies. I would have pointed out, well, your guy didn't even participate in the first challenge. So somebody who participated in both the challenges probably should get these supplies before somebody who didn't participate did. Now, I'm not going to say anything bad about the guy because he didn't want to get in the water. And I wouldn't have wanted to get in the water. I'll be perfectly honest with you. There was not a lot of point of getting in the water at that particular point. I do have to talk about one shelter I keep seeing. It's got these big green leaves. Look like big banana leaves, but they're not banana leaves. They're on the wrong part of the country for that. They look a lot like skunk cabbage. That shelter's, I hope they're not, because that shelter's going to be kind of unpleasant to be in. Anyhow, if it is skunk cabbage, it might not be. So, with all that being said, those are my thoughts. I'm just kind of looking forward to episode 4, maybe 5, when stuff starts happening at a much faster pace, I hope. So, been a really good show so far. I have to keep in the back of my mind that these people have no training, not a lot of experience, all those kind of things. So, my wife is tolerating me yelling at the TV, which I've been doing a lot. So, with all that being said, I'll see you all in the woods.